while you're doing this. Go.
Hey everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Sunday. It is June the 14th. It is the week of Juneteenth, and I'm super excited to be joined on this call with some amazing people who are deciding to devote their time and energy and volunteer to be on this campaign because change can't wait. So, hi everyone. I am Florida State Representative Angie Nixon. I am running for United States Senate here in the state of Florida, and I am super excited to be with you all today. I am running for United States Senate because I believe hardworking, everyday people should get to shape what their communities look like and what their economies look like. I honestly believe that government should work for people and not against them. And so tonight I am joined by three amazing young people, right, who are leaders. I don't want to say they are the future leaders because they are leaders right now, but I am being joined by three amazing young people who are devoting 15 to 20 hours a week to volunteer because they want to fight for their future. They are ready to build a new vision for our country, one where all families have stability, every worker has dignity, and every young person like them has the opportunity to reach the true American dream, actually. And so, with that, I am going to actually, I'm joined by four people. I said three, four young people plus Shanae. Shanae, me and Shanae ain't that young, y'all. Uh, but I'm gonna kick it over to Shanae to get us started with everything and to kind of tell you all the agenda for tonight. So super excited.
Thank you all, and thank you so much for joining us. I am Shanae Jackson. I am one of the people of this amazing campaign team, and super excited to be here for you all. And tonight, as Angie stated, she's deciding that she wants to engage with you all every Sunday. And tonight is because change can't wait. So what it is our first iteration of Ask Angie. And with that, you would have the opportunity every Sunday night to engage and talk to the next U.S. Senator. We're doing something a little different. So this is not a speech. It's a conversation. And the topic about change can't wait. We're going to hear about it from the people who are living it and organizing around it every single day. So before we come back to Angie to talk to you a bit longer, I want you to meet the members of that team. So we'll start with Anna. She'll introduce herself, where she resides, and why her role with the campaign, and why she actually decided to the team, and then she'll kick it to the next person.
Hi, all. My name's Anna. I'm the Deputy Field Director. I help supervise our regional organizers as well as the fellows in our fellowship program. And I have a few whys that I always go to when I'm asked this question, but my main one is affordability. It's a big one, being able to exist. Personally, my mom can't afford to live in the state of Florida anymore because her rent went up 40% in 2 years, a grand from one year to the next. And I'm from Boca, which is one of the worst real estate markets in the state, um, in terms of the difference between income and how much housing costs. And so my mom moved out of state and she lives 1,000 miles away from me now. So that's part of why I do what I do, because Florida shouldn't be like this. But yeah, and I will kick it over to Joe Donnie, one of our fellows.
Okay, hi, my name is Jodani. I'm currently in Sarasota County. I'm a local high school student here. I chose to be a fellow for Angie because I believe change can't wait, and I think she's exactly what we need. I appreciate everything she's been doing and continues to do. And I think my best moment that I've seen is like the redistricting. I loved that. After that, I was like, I need to get in contact with her team and see what else I can do locally. I've met her a couple times and she's really wonderful to talk to. And yeah, that's my why.
Next, we're going to turn it over to Jeremiah. Jeremiah will introduce himself, and then he will kick it over to the next team member.
Hey y'all, I'm Jeremiah. Y'all know me. I'm a third year political science student from FAMU in Orlando, Florida. I'd say my biggest why with Angie, I don't even think or know if she remembers this, but it was like 2 years ago, one of the first days of session 2025. Actually, no, I guess that was 1 year ago. And there was a protest in front of the Capitol. They're still doing construction on the old Capitol. And it was her and my representative, Angie, not Angie, I was about to say Angie, Anna Eskamani. And it was different than the politics that I was used to. I was used to the boring C-SPAN politics and not the actually doing something, being active in your community politics. I think Angie's a great representative of that as an elected official and future further elected official. And I know that she actually stands and means what she's actually going to do. And I cannot see names, but I will pass it over to DA, those initials.
No worries, I'll get you covered, Daniel.
Boom, that.
Well, well, it's quite simple. A future for our children, honestly. I had an experience with public schools, and it's quite sad. It's not enough funding and not enough teacher pay, and honestly, and it's not just high schoolers. It's also from pre-K to middle school. You know, public school funding is not being funded enough. A lower class child is being taught less than a child that is in a rich family or a higher class family, and I feel like that's unfair and unjust. And not just that, but also the extreme culture wars in Florida too. That's making our next generation full of hate and like divide. And honestly, we need to erase that. We need to eradicate that, and we need to honestly start funding our schools to actually give every child an opportunity to learn and be successful.
Daniel and then Moya.
Hi, I'm Moya. I'm from Jacksonville, North Florida. Go Duval. I have heard about Angie before even joining the fellowship, but I think one of the things that like really drew me to who she is and just her mission is just because she represents so many things. We use this term like intersectionality, being able to like represent different groups as one person. And I think just with me, like I'm an immigrant, I'm a black woman, I'm all these different things, and I cross over into all these different policies, and so many things affect me at one time. I'm a young person, and I think Angie also can relate to that and how she just connects to all these different groups. And I think that's what separates her from these other politicians and lawmakers, is when you're actually like you have your foot in all these different communities and all these different aspects of life. Like you can better understand what people are going through, and you can better make effective policy on their behalf. And so I just think that I want a representative who has that intersectionality, has that diversity, has all these different qualities, and understands the different aspects of life, and then can go in and make policy on my behalf. And I can say that's just my spiel, but like even as I'm working for her, I have had so many conversations with people. I had a conversation with a woman the other day, like this week, making phone calls telling me that when she didn't have access to her Medicaid, Angie called the office for her, and like literally right after that, got things pushed through. And I've heard just so many stories of her like being on the ground actually helping people. And I just think that's what we need. And I think that even motivates me even more to continue to do what I'm doing for her, canvassing and phone banking, because this is someone who like I actually believe in. And I hear the voice of the people, they're saying this is like she's doing this for me. And I think that's just like the best when you have your actual people who you're representing. They're actually they can give real stories where she has helped them. And so I'm just down for Angie, y'all. Love her. Love you, Angie.
Thank y'all.
And Moya, if you're able to come on camera, we would love to see your beautiful face. And so to everyone that's
That's
tuning
Moya with the hot pink shoes that I need to purchase. They match the campaign colors. They were nice.
Yes. So to everyone that is tuning in, so you've heard it for yourself from people that are actually have joined this people power movement. They've given the reason why they're willing to give so much of their time. At this moment now, I would love to turn it over to Angie just so she can ground us into kind of what's happening and why this is important. And then we'll ask a few questions from the people that we have joining us.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you all so much for being on this call. I really appreciate it. Thanks for everyone that's tuning in. And everything these young people stated is one of the reasons that I am run. I mean, it's all of the reasons that I'm running. And I'm just so honored that Gen Z kind of likes your girl, right? And so I have some Gen Zers too, and I just believe that right now our country is going through a lot of chaos, and there's a lot of corruption in regards to the folks who are running our country. There's a lack of transparency and there's definitely a lack of accountability. And I believe, though, that it doesn't have to be this way. I believe that regular, hardworking, everyday people, like everyone on this call, like all of you that are watching us, should actually get to shape what our communities look like and what our economies look like. The other day, Friday to be exact, we just produced the world's first trillionaire here in our country. Elon Musk, a trillionaire. And what's so upsetting about that is that we have seniors, we have veterans, we have some young people, we have educators that some are living on the streets. Some of them are living in their cars. But we have a trillionaire who is now only a trillionaire because he got massive tax breaks because there were corporate loopholes that he was able to exploit, because he was union busting and not paying his employees the wages they deserve or providing them with the benefits they deserve. Again, it doesn't have to be this way. We can actually live in a country where people like you can afford to go on vacation if they work. People like you can actually just work one job and you not struggle. Like, that is the type of country that we can actually build, and it's the type of country that we should want to build. And we have the opportunity to build, but we have to do things differently there. We have to elect people who care about the needs of hardworking folks. We have to elect people who have been there before, who have struggled before, who know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck, who know what it's like to walk outside their home and their car not be there. You think it got stolen, but it's actually been repossessed. That is what happened to me. I was a single mom for 12 years. I know what it's like to struggle. And those are the types of people that we should have running the country, because if they are, we would see policies that actually help those types of people instead of the greedy billionaires and corrupt corporations who are right now the ones that are patting the campaign coffers of those that are elected and actually pushing the policies that make them even richer. And so I am here tonight because I want to hear from y'all. I want to answer y'all questions about how we are going to actually, in fact, and after we win, what types of things we're going to deliver to help make your lives better. And so thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you, fella, for volunteering your time. Let's go.
Thank you so much, Angie. I was always excited to hear you speak. So I want to share that Haley, one of our fellows, actually has joined us. So we're going to actually give her a moment to introduce herself. After that, what we're going to do is hear from the fellows. What are voters saying and telling them all when they're at the doors? Then the fellows are going to ask a few questions, and then we're going to open it up and answer the questions that we see that are being dropped in the different chats across our social media platforms. So, Haley, I'd like to turn it over to you now, and then we'll get started.
Okay, thank you, Miss Shanae. Hi everyone, my name is Haley, and I currently live in Gainesville, Florida, because I go to the university here, University of Florida. And why I said yes to giving Angie my time, I saw something in her. I saw my future in her. I saw like how she just uses her voice to wake people up. I don't want to say scare them, but to wake them up, wake them out of their comfort, wake them out of their stagnation in the current, in the way our current country has been run and has always been run. So that's why I said yes.
That was amazing. Thank you all for being brave, for stepping up and answering the call, and even for being here tonight. And so the question is, you have been at the doors and on the phones since you started with the campaign. What are Floridians telling you about what's hitting them hardest right now? Is it housing, groceries, insurance? So give us one real story that you've encountered this week. I mean, and either of you are welcome to start.
I guess I'll go first. I've been mostly a phone call person. So on one of my calls, I want to say like last week. Actually, no, I think it was earlier this week. It was a single mother, a single black mother who was like trying to like be respectful and like listen to me on the call while also like handling multiple kids. And one of the main things she told me was that life was very complicated. There was like too much going on. Like it wasn't just housing affordability, groceries, gas. It was all those things combined that made her life so difficult, that made her life so stressful. Oh yeah, I did it. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat. But as I was saying, those are the things that made her life so difficult. Yeah, it's what like that.
Thank you for that, Jeremiah, for sharing that story. And that's one of the reasons why I am pushing to cap early childhood education at $10 a day, and then really make a push for universal childcare, free childcare. I believe that that is one bill we should not have to worry about any type of education, like, right? So from birth to college, from birth to vocational school, or trade program, I believe that if we want productive citizens here in our state and in our country, we should make sure that we invest in them, and investing them in them at a very early age, which would also allow parents to go to work and make money. There are a lot of parents that keep their children at home because they can't afford to send them to an early child care facility. I have a 5-year-old and I'm paying $1,000 a month, and that's a lot of money. I could be putting that on my credit card bills. I could be putting that towards my mortgage. I could be saving that. But right now, I want to make sure that my daughter is in school and has a decent education. But she's 5, right? And it goes up even more if they are like newborns and things like that. And so that is something that we definitely need to look at. Also, when we don't go into wars of choice, when we don't start wars because it makes us richer, some of us, right, like Donald Trump and his friends and family, when we don't start wars, we don't have issues with oil like we do, and we don't have gas prices going up, and we don't have the cost of goods going up as well. But I also think we need to stop being so reliant on oil, and we need to possibly look at, not possibly, we definitely need to look at pushing for the Green New Deal and stop allowing all these subsidies as it relates to the oil industry, and really trying to work to save our environment and lower our carbon footprint.
Thank you so much. Daniel, I know you are new and it's your first week. Are there any stories from the field you'd like to share with us?
Well, yeah, I'm very new and I didn't reach enough or a lot of people yet. But honestly, the most I heard, which is shocking, is a lot of people still don't know who Angie is, and a lot of people, and one lady I talked to, she's like, oh, she's not in my district. Why would I vote for her? And I explained to her, she still represents you and still represents your rights and your dignity, and she still felt um ill mannered in doing so. And I feel like the real solution to winning hearts and minds is honestly just going to each doorstep, going in, making speeches everywhere, going to each town, each city, each area, and campaigning. Even with opposites of our people, like Republicans or MAGA alike, winning their hearts and minds. I
Mm-hmm.
think that would gain momentum and actually win us the race for Democrats.
For sure. You are so right about that, Daniel. Thank you for that. Oftentimes, a lot of people don't even know who their mayor is or who their city council member is or who the U.S. senators are. And so you're right. Folks are really stressed out and just working and doing things like that. And so this campaign is about people power, right? That's why we have you all on as fellows. That's why we are doing these Ask Angie sessions every week up until election day, because we want people to know what is going on, who I am, what I stand for, and we want people to spread this message. Look, y'all, we learned today that Chuck Schumer is actually supporting my primary opponent, and I think that's really important to highlight because the DSCC is the organization that Chuck Schumer leads, and they are putting a lot of support behind my primary opponent. But we don't need the status quo anymore. We don't need to keep doing the same things over and over and over again. Now is the time for us to actually be bold. We are boldly being attacked. And so this moment requires bold leadership. People who are unafraid, people who are not going to be beholden to these greedy billionaires and these corrupt corporations, people who aren't corporate Dems, right? People who actually put people over party, people over profits, and people over politics. And I think that's important for people to know that is who I am and what I stand for. And we are going to win this election, but we need people like you all, the fellows on the call, and everyone that's watching us right now today. We need you. If you realize, because it is true, right? Like if you realize we have been left behind by not only the Republicans, we've been left behind by some of the Democrats, by just basically all of the establishment, right? Like, and it doesn't have to be this way, y'all. Like, I am someone who only cares about people. I am putting people first. And I know that I can deliver, right? I've delivered before. I've delivered the expansion of early childhood education while I was in the state of Florida. I've delivered by helping to stop price gouging by big box stores. And I see that Melissa has asked the question multiple times. How am I accepting money from APAC? No, I am not accepting money from APAC. I am not accepting money from APAC because I my allegiance is to the people of this state and the people of this country. It is not to any other place but the people of this country and this state. And I think it's important to note that. And I saw that Sean for Cape Coral asked about committing to trying to secure appropriations as it relates to the expansion of hurricane evacuation routes, right? Of course, if someone who has prided myself on being on the ground anytime there's a storm, I know what it's like to lose things due to a storm. I've always been on the ground in Ken Night when they had massive amounts of flood. We would volunteer to go help clean up, to help put out sandbags, to raise funds, to provide mattresses and supplies for people after they lost some of the things that they needed just to have a decent quality of life, just their basic necessities. And so, of course, I would work to secure appropriations to help widen roads that would help keep people safe.
Thank you so much, Angie. We've heard from you the appropriations that you would ask for, and that you've been clear that you won't take APAC money. We've also heard from two of our fellows, with people that have engaged as it relates to actual voters. And one thing that Daniel said, which is super, super important, and I want to make sure that we did not let that get lost in the shuffle. He says that we should talk to people all across the state and go make speeches and do those things. And I want to name for you to share with everyone how you are one person that is representing the third largest state. How is it that you will be able and successful to get people to doors and at events to be able to speak to everyone so that they know who you are? How can people help with that?
Yeah, for sure. So folks can help. We definitely need people to help continue to spread the word and to join our People Power campaign. We have regionals all across the state, and we have these fellows. We have more fellows than are on this call for sure. And they are willing to train folks. They're going out knocking on doors for folks. They're calling volunteers. They're making phone calls to help us raise money and all the things. And so we need people to help subsidize that and supplement that, right? Like, and so we need you all to volunteer in our campaigns and also act as surrogates. There's a ton of events that are happening all across this state, especially during these summer months. We need you all to go and talk on my behalf. We definitely need you all to knock on doors and make phone calls. Look, y'all, this should not be about can I win? Can Angie win? Can you win? It's if you want this, the right question to ask is, are you ready to win? Are you ready to send someone to Washington DC who you know has your back? Are you ready to send someone to Washington DC who's going to push back against Donald Trump and the Elon Musk and the Peter Thiels and Jeff Bezos of the world, who are going to put you first? The biggest recipients of welfare, the biggest welfare queens, are these big corporations. But we need to make sure that we are taxing the rich and taxing these corporations over there was 88 companies that made over 105 billion dollars last year, and they paid absolutely nothing in taxes. Meanwhile, you got people like me that I have to go into a payment plan to pay right now to pay $15,000 back to the IRS. I did not make $105 billion, y'all. So you telling me I have to pay taxes, but these companies that are profiting all this money, and the same companies that are not paying people a living wage, they don't have to pay federal taxes? That is disrespectful. And it is one of the reasons why people are suffering right now. It's one of the reasons why people are working themselves to the bone and sometimes to their death. But again, it doesn't have to be this way. We can change this. And so I'm super excited, but I need your help, right? Like, if you are ready to change the trajectory of our state and of our country, you'll join my People Power campaign. You'll text everyone right now and let them know who I am, about my race. Go to angienixon.com, follow me on social media, share everything you know, and let people know that they need to be registered by July 20th to be a Democrat so that they can vote for me by August 18th. Y'all, we can win this thing, and we can build a Florida and an America for all.
Thank you so much. With Jordani or Moya or Haley, do any of you have any stories from the field?
Um, I think this is sort of like a common thing that I've been finding. It's not necessarily a story, but it's like a common thing that I've seen. A lot of the people that I speak to are felons. So whenever I ask, "Are you registered to vote?" they say, "No, I can't vote." And then we ask why. Then they ask, I just wanted to bring that up because I feel like it does our community as a whole a disservice to like um to continue to keep these people out of their political rights even after they've served their time and they're back in the community. So I think I just wanted to bring that up because I think I really have a question for you, Miss Nixon, as to is that something that will be on your campaign that you will work towards building as you're in the Senate? Like, will you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so thank you for that question. I know that back in 2018, I helped work on the rights restoration campaign to allow automatic rights restoration for returning citizens who didn't create violent crimes, and it passed. But then Ron DeSantis came in here and he like basically changed changed the he changed it. He moved the goalposts. And the reason he did that is because he didn't want certain people to basically get their rights restored because he felt like they would not vote in support of him. And that's what this is all about, y'all. Like these people are trying to take our power away and take our right to vote away. And so I believe that if people have paid their debt to society, they should be able to vote. And oftentimes people commit crimes out of desperation, oftentimes because they're hungry, and like that leads to like this downward spiral. Like a lot of these young people, right, like their parents are working a lot, and so they don't have a lot to do. I know people sell drugs because they're trying to make money, but like it's just I don't we should be trying to address the root causes, right? Like it's not just about, you know, putting people in jail and throwing away the key or whatever. We should honestly be trying to rehabilitate people and not just like make them pay the consequences, right? Like there's a reason why people are committing crimes, and like we should work to address the issue why people are committing crimes, right? Sometimes it's like a lack of mental health resources. A lot of people are suffering from like post-traumatic stress, and like it's just and then it becomes cyclical, right? And so yes, I think we need to, I don't think we need to make sure we are doing some criminal justice reform, pushing for criminal justice reform, and also just really working to address these root causes. A lot of it being people need to be paid living wages, right? Like that's a lot of the issue.
Thank you so much. So, Dradani, Moya, or Anna, if you all can let us know things you've heard from the field or questions you have yourselves. Once we've spoken with you all, we'll go back to the questions that are actually in the chat from the people that are tuning in.
Okay, yes, I do have one story that really stuck out to me. I was door knocking and I came across this one lady, and she wasn't really aware. Oh my gosh, sorry. She wasn't really aware about Angie's campaign, so I gave her a little backstory. Um, and we started talking about affordable housing, and she was really in distress, and she said that she's been working two jobs just to get by. She said in the last year her rent went from $1,600 to $2,500, and she was saying that she's like has kids and she can't take them to school because she doesn't have a car, and just a lot about her story that really made me sympathize for her. And I told her to do some more research about Angie because I think she's a great candidate for all of these issues. um and what else? Yeah, and we just started talking more about affordable housing and affordability in Florida in general, and that's like one of the one stories that I really like. It kept replaying in my head because the amount of money that she has to pay now, and she's like trying to get a third job on top of that just to be able to get by. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And what is frustrating is that the companies that she works for, they're probably profiting like billions of dollars, right? Or millions of dollars. We'll say millions of dollars. Or like they are turning a profit, right? But I'm sure if she has to work two jobs and possibly a third job, they're not paying her a living wage, right? And that's just ridiculous. And so also the problem is that a lot of these landlords, they have there's very little regulation. I know that I want to let you all know that I was overseeing an organization called Florida for All, and we actually won rent stabilization in Central Florida. We were going to cap the the amount that rent could have been raised by 10% for a year, just to see like what would happen and to see how it helped folks and see the effect on like the landlords and everything. But Tallahassee decided to preempt it and basically ban that from happening, right? And so what I see someone asking what type of policies that I would push for as it relates to building a Florida for all is the same policies that I pushed in the state legislature that can actually be federalized, right? I believe that we need to for that young mother, right? I believe that we need to cap rent prices, right? Like cap not cap rent prices. We need to cap rent increases, right? We need to cap it, right? Like especially right now, as it relates to just how much they can go up each year. Some of these places are going up like 25%. Like that is way too much. That is so unaffordable. Right now here in the state of Florida, we are 18% over the national average for rent. Like people are paying 18% over the national average here in our state. Florida has now become the most unaffordable place to rent in. That's absolutely ridiculous. And so we definitely need to look at possibly capping it at 10% for folks to be able to increase the rent by 10%. We also need to do something about property insurance, right? The reason that there's been a failure to actually reform property insurance here is because a lot of these elected officials, these politicians, they get their campaign donations from these insurance companies. And so that is absolutely ridiculous. And so we really got to get big money out of politics, which is one of the reasons that I support overturning Citizens United. We cannot continue to allow corporations to put in unlimited amounts of money into our politics, into campaigns and elections. Campaigns and elections should be decided just by the people, but right now they're being decided by corporations and the wealthy, and that's just not right. And so we also need to look at like how much, maybe lowering the limits of campaign contributions so that regular hardworking everyday folks have almost an equal share as some of the billionaires, right? Like that's absolutely ridiculous. And I know that some folks asked a few other things in regards to, oh yeah, what else I would do. Look, medical debt is the leading cause of bankruptcy here in our country. People are going bankrupt simply because they're trying to stay alive. There's nothing radical about pushing for Medicare for all. The fact remains that we can afford to take care of people and make sure that they're healthy and have access to health care. We're spending $1 billion on a ballroom we will never dance in. We are seeing Donald Trump give no bid contracts to his friends and his family members and campaign donors. No bid contracts. No bid contracts. We're seeing this up and down all around, right? We're seeing them waste money with the Department of Homeland Security. Christy Nome spent like millions of dollars to do some type of commercial and promote herself. Like that money could have been used for regular, everyday, hardworking people. It's ridiculous what's happening. And they're making policies. The people that are in power right now are creating policies to make themselves richer. I.e., did you know that Trump's net worth has increased by $4 billion since he's been in office recently? $4 billion. Everybody that I talk to, their savings has gone down, if not just got depleted. Their 401ks have gone down, right? They're struggling. They're losing their cars. They're having to move back in with their family members. but there are politicians that are getting richer off our backs. And, I believe that we need to ensure that we have fully funding, like we need to fully fund HUD, right? We need to put more investment in HUD. I purchased my first home. I purchased my first home through a program that came from HUD, that trickled down to the state, that trickled down to local governments. As a single mom, only making an income of, like, my income was $28,000 a year, and I qualified because there were CDBG dollars that wanted to ensure that hardworking everyday people and some of the lower income people could afford a home. Those dollars got cut because Donald Trump wanted to give tax breaks to the wealthy and to corporations. That's crazy. And yes, we definitely need to reform HUD. We need to make sure that if people are living in public housing, like that the housing is up to code, that the housing is decent and in order, right? And that there are also programs so that folks can get off HUD. I am someone who has been on I've had WIC before. Again, I was a single mom for 12 years. I understand how it is to struggle and how government should help you. And I was able to get help, and I am not on the system, right? Government done the right way helps people, uplift people who then will be able to pay back into that system that they just benefited from. It's not hard, right? It's not hard, but we have Ashley Moody who voted to cut WIC, who voted to cut subsidies for certain farm workers, which is only going to impact our food sources. And they're doing this because they got to cut that because they're giving these tax breaks to help Elon Musk become a trillionaire. It's time that government works for hardworking everyday people and not against us.
Thank you so much. And then Moya, if you like to tell us a story or one final question, and then Anna will end with you and then answer the questions in the chat.
Yeah, I'll say most recently, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, from me canvassing, I knocked on a door of an older woman, and she was telling me about how the sorry guys, my phone. She was telling me about how the one of the plants in her neighborhood was poisoning the water, and so her and her neighbors can't drink the water, can't cook with the water. And so I think that's just another example of how we see people that are in these communities, they're putting the investment from the corporations that don't actually end up trickling down into those communities above the needs and the safety of the people that they're representing. And so again, I think that's just why we need someone like Angie who actually cares about, people on the ground, who actually cares about our safety and our health and all the things that we need to survive. And I think another thing that I really love that Angie was talking about is, I think we hear so much times about this, like, you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps, and they make the solution very individual based instead of really looking at the institutions that have been set in place that work against people, that makes it hard for them to then pick themselves up by the bootstraps. So if you continue to attack the individual and give us individual based solutions, and you see that this has not been working, then we definitely need to look at the institution. And I think people fail to realize that it's not an individual issue, it's an institutional issue. And I love the fact that Angie is attacking, going against the grain, against institutions that are negatively impacting us. And so yeah.
Thank you so much, Moya. And then Anna.
Yeah, one quick short story from my canvassing that I wanted to share was my talking point whenever I go up to a door is I point at my piece of lip, which has Angie and her pink bullhorn, and I go, This is her fighting for you. This picture right here, like this is her fighting gerrymandering on the floor, which severely limits the gerrymandered maps that just got passed by the Florida State House severely limit black voting power. And I'm talking to primarily black voters. And I was talking to this elderly black lady. She was in her 70s or 80s. And I said that to her, and she's like, "We can't go back. We can't go back. The only way is forward." And that stuck with me, and I just wanted to share that we can't go back. The only way is forward, and Angie is the way forward.
Thank you so much for Anna for sharing that story. I think it's the most timely story on the doors and over the phones to hear for tonight. So I want to center before we jump into the conversations and just make sure that people are clear that Angie's doing this every Sunday from 8 p.m. because she wants to hear from you all, but then also wants everyone to have the opportunity to be a part of going forward and building what is next. And so very appreciative for that. So what I would love to do is to read some of the questions that we have in the chat for you, Angie. One is from Sean from Cape Coral. Can you provide specific policies that you would propose to make Florida affordable for working class? Is the
Yeah,
first
for
question.
sure. And so a lot of those policies are located on the Florida flhouse.gov website. But I was able to actually uh, expand access to early childhood education. Senator Grawl took my bill and put it in her omnibus bill, which basically allowed providers to be able to be compensated at a rate where they wouldn't have to shut down their facilities if they were accepting school readiness vouchers for low income and hard working families. So super excited about that. Also, I was able to, some Republicans took my bill, but it was able to give access to folks who were on Medicaid to be able to get dental care. So super excited about that. That's something that I advocated for, legislation that I continually filed. Also, over and over and over again for 6 years, I filed Department of Labor legislation to actually try to ensure that there was no wage theft and to establish a Department of Labor so people can to report to that Department of Labor if there was any issues with the companies that they worked for. But we are in a super minority. My party's in a super minority, and a lot of the bills that they were passing were only going to actually help their family friends make more money. There were literally bills and appropriations given to some of my colleagues that were Republicans, their spouses, right? There was literally bills passed because some of my colleagues ran charter management companies and they wanted to make charter schools easier to basically get public schools to move into public schools without any cost sharing and that type of stuff. And so what has been going on in the state of Florida is that unfortunately the leadership in Tallahassee, these Republicans, they have not been looking out for regular everyday folks. They've been looking out for themselves. And so I've always pushed legislation to really work to try to counter that. And in regards to, I see some other questions regarding federal regulations protecting communities from, do I support federal regulations protecting communities from power and water demands from AI data centers? Oh, absolutely. I believe there should be a moratorium on data centers. I have seen the negative impacts of them being built and how there's sediment in the pipes and it's destroying people's quality of life. It is also making their water pressure really, really bad. It also causes people's energy costs to go up. It starts depleting the water. We have a very delicate, precious aquifer that is already being strained, and we don't need to continue putting strain on that. There was a question earlier as well in regards to charter schools. Look, y'all, I do not have a problem with school choice. What I have a problem with is the lack of parity when it comes to charter schools. They should have to follow the same rules if they are getting public dollars as public schools, right? I think that is really important to note. I know that in some areas, the public schools don't have the resources that they need. So some of those who are lower income or have disabilities may need to go to charter schools. I understand, but they need to be held to the same standards, because oftentimes these charter schools and definitely these private schools, they're sending these children back to public schools behind, right? I don't believe that our public dollars should go to private schools at all, unless again unless it's a child has a disability, uh, or they are in a very low income area. But again, there needs to be parity. But right now, this voucher program that was pushed here in the state of Florida, that basically got federalized and now is being pushed across the country. We don't need to be subsidizing billionaires and millionaires as children's private schools. You got billions and millions of dollars. Why am I paying for your child to go to a private school that can discriminate against children, that can discriminate against children based on their hair, based on their race, based on their sexual identity, right? Or expression? We should not be doing that, right? Like, or discriminate against that child based on who they worship, right? And so I am not about funding discrimination. Like, absolutely, full stop. We're not going to do that. And again, like, we need to make sure if any entity takes public dollars, there needs to be accountability, transparency, and they need to follow the rules. And that's not what's happening.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rep Nixon. I do want to share the thing that you stated as it relates to the charter schools in my own hometown of Gainesville. We have a bunch of students that left one of our elementary schools because they did not want the entire school to be an entire school magnet. And they went to another school, which is now called the Fraser School. That was just 2 years ago, and that school is already filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And then the school that they took the students from is one of our schools that is now closing. Our elementary school kids are forced to go to school with kids in middle school. And so I just wanted to name, as you gave that story, this is a real life example in the county that I actually live in. And so we're really not owning or understanding the detriment that it causes. And they're stating that the reason that it went bankrupt is because of the original owners of the actual charter school in their dispute. So now they're in bankruptcy. They've defunded all of these seats out of the schools, and everything's up in limbo. And it's not like the students can go back to the school that they were at because that school is closing. So I wanted to share that before we close for tonight. And then there was one other question that I was trying to find, and they were asking about, there was a program that you can get a tax credit, that if you pay 33% of your home costs to your home. And I apologize because I can't find it.
So I'm not sure exactly that question. And so we can answer that on the next
Yes.
meeting. But look, y'all, we need we need your help. This isn't my campaign. This is not Angie Nixon's campaign. This is y'all's campaign. This is this is about y'all's future. And if you are ready to have someone that is willing to fight for your future and help deliver a better America and Florida for all, I only put forth policies that are brought to me from hardworking everyday people. Like, that's all. I never accept policies from big corporations, because oftentimes they just trying to figure out how to exploit people and how to make more money and not give that to their employees. And so if you want someone who is willing to pick up the phone when you called, allow their office to call you, to take your phone calls, respond to your emails, show up to town hall meetings, put forth an agenda that you all want to be put forth, then like, I am your candidate, right? Like, if that is what you want and that is what you know you deserve because you do, then you'll join our campaign. Look, we cannot continue to do the same thing. I have 5 kids. Me and my husband are married. We have a blended family. And I'm fighting for them. I'm fighting for those children, my children, and I'm going to fight for you all as well. You deserve it. That's all I can say tonight, y'all. We're gonna be here every Sunday at 8 p.m. And I want to say thank you to all our volunteers. I want to say thank you to Shanae, to Anna, all our fellows on this call. Young people, it's about y'all. And so I need y'all to let y'all other young people know in this state that I need them to register and we need them to vote, y'all, like for real. I am fearful that if we do not win these elections that we're going to it's going to take us a lot longer to get out of this situation that we're in right now. And so, again, I am so thankful for everyone that is joining our campaign. I'm excited, y'all. Like, I am operating on fumes right now, but I'm excited nonetheless because people are ready for change can't wait, y'all, and we can do this. So please visit our website, angienixon.com. Please share our information. Tomorrow and Tuesday I will be in Sarasota. Wednesday, where I'm gonna be, Shanae?
Child, it runs together. Give me one moment so I can. and I want
Monday and
to.
Tuesday I am in Sarasota.
I apologize, Angie. I don't know what my other phone is, but
Let's see. Wednesday, I'm gonna be in Miami and in Parkland. And Thursday, I'm gonna be in Miami again. And then Friday is my wedding anniversary, y'all. I don't want my husband to divorce me, so I gotta take some time for my husband, a little bit of time for my husband. Jeremiah looked at me like, what? And then we're gonna pop up at some Juneteenth events on my anniversary on Thursday, on Friday, and then Saturday I'm gonna be back in Miami, and so y'all gonna see me down south. This is a down south week.
and then to share just with everyone, she's told you where she's going. If she named any place that you're in, please hit us up. We dropped in the chat and we also posted here all of the events that are coming up. If you want to host a meetup in your town and in your city for Angie to engage with your people, let us know. You want to volunteer? We need volunteers. We want you to donate. Your donation, again, it's an investment. And so it's an investment in the future of you and the people that you love. We appreciate you all. Also, if you go to the Angie for Florida Facebook page, there is a recurring event that you can actually state that you're going, so you can get reminders there as well for every Sunday at 8 p.m. And you'll know what the upcoming topics are for each Sunday, and also instructions on how to submit your questions in advance. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful night.
Good night, y'all. Thank you. Change can't wait.